So you can like manipulate your brain into being your best self just by surrounding yourself with people who are taking their lives, seriously, but also taking really good care of themselves.
Welcome to Nose to My Nervous System. I'm Erin, mom, therapist, and creator of the Mind Circuit app, your little pocket emotion regulation tool. Today, I'm excited. We are welcoming a guest to our podcast, Leah Mitchell. She is a matchmaker. She helps women find the one by mastering pheromones and subconscious signals. And she has her own podcast called the Goddess of Love Podcast. Thank you so much, Leah, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited for this conversation.
Oh, good. So, matchmaking, I thought that went away eons ago.
Yeah. So, the matchmaking love coach is a little bit of a deceiving name, I will admit. So I don't match women up with their match of man. I actually use changing their pheromone production to attract their man in their life.
So, you help them find the match.
Yes. So by just, really looking at the subconscious patterns and their scent patterns, we can create a level of chemical compatibility that's in alignment with their most authentic version of themselves. So it's like finding that person that is so authentically matched for you and who you are. But the biggest challenge for people is that they're often dating and attracting people not from who they are, but who they think they need to be, or a survival response, or a
That
protective
nervous system's
mechanism.
in fight, flight, or freeze.
Yes. And when that happens, we are essentially resorting back to our conditioning, right? Our what we've tracked in our brain and memorized as this is how I'm going to survive based on our very early, time of our lives. So the most important part is really, getting yourself back to you and that most authentic version of yourself, because this is what holds your personalized pheromone pattern and scent. And that is strong enough to attract someone on a subconscious level that is your perfect match.
Now, I've heard about pheromones, especially when it comes to like animal pheromones and them
Yes.
marking their territory, if I could talk, or attracting mates and stuff. And I know there is a lot of well-established research around how pheromones play within the animal realm. But I have not heard a lot about pheromones within humans. I'll hear it every now and then, but it doesn't seem to be well like understood or talked about. So how did you get into this, and what have you learned along the way?
Yeah, so pheromones actually can't be proven in people.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. Even
Yeah,
though
so
it
we
can
them.
in animals?
Yes, so it's very proven in the animal kingdom, but we're not seeing that we can actually like pull out the pheromones. So I don't know. I'm very big into like hunting and fishing. This is how I grew up. And it's interesting. If you're hunting during the rut of deer season, you can smell those male deer. Like
Really?
you can smell them from all the way up in your tree stand. If the wind is blowing in a certain direction,
I
they
get that.
they
I'm from Chicago originally, and I moved here to the mountains of West North Carolina. And
Mhm.
I swear to God that I can now smell when this particular bear is around that bugs the heck out of my garbage can. But we can like smell it sometimes.
Yes, yeah,
I
and
thought it
so
was just in my head.
right, so during their mating season, that will be like extreme, and that's why they go and they rub on trees and they do all this stuff, is because
Yes.
they're literally leaving their pheromones behind. Now, with people, why I believe in pheromones so specifically is because of the way that if you go into an exam hall where people are writing a test and they are sweating, anxiety is sweat, versus when you walk into a yoga studio and people are sweating, one of them smells terrible and one of them smells sweet. Now, this is an obvious example, but there's also like subconscious, like when you go on a date with a man, you typically can't smell him. And a lot of women find cologne, myself included, really repulsive only because I'm not able to smell the person for how they actually smell. And that
Oh,
gives off a subconscious signal that they're untrustworthy for women.
oh,
You actually can't interpret their pheromone production. And pheromone production has a lot to do with safety for females, where
uh,
it doesn't have a lot to do with men.
yes, that's been shown to uh, trigger the amygdala activation and that anxiety response.
Yes. Yes. So essentially um when you're trying to interpret the pheromones of a man, like you're mainly going to smell them on his neck. So you have to be at a fairly good
Hmm.
position to consciously smell them. But
Okay.
we can actually subconsciously interpret pheromones even virtually because we've memorized body language to match pheromones. So our
Oh,
subconscious can
okay.
predict if we're going to be attracted to someone in person, if we are going to like the smell of them in person, all based on our ability, because our memory system is so incredible, our ability to read someone's body language and the tone of their
Hmm.
voice in order to give us signals on what kind of pheromones they're producing.
Hmm.
And one of the ways we can look at this, and I love that you brought up the amygdala, because what dramatically affects pheromone production in a very, very negative way is cortisol. So when we produce our stress hormone, cortisol,
Hmm.
we decrease our pheromone production significantly, and this shifts our chemical compatibility. So it changes not only who's
That
attracted to us, but also,
emotional chemical signaling, which is very much
yes,
a thing I've
yes. So
started
it's,
reading up about.
yeah, it's like, it's not only who's attracted to us, but it's also who we feel attracted to.
So if you're in fight, flight, freeze, fawn, and your nervous system's overwhelmed all the time, you are not going to be able to attract a good match because you're always dysregulated emotionally.
Yeah, and then the men who are typically attracted to that are men
Oh,
who
we're
thrive
not
in those
healthy.
environments. Chaos, right? Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, that's
exactly.
so true. That's not what you want. If a person finds that attractive, that should just be a red flag. I didn't
Right,
even think of that.
right.
Interesting.
Yeah, but sometimes that can feel so familiar to us based on how we were raised. And so
Of
those
course.
pheromone scent patterns actually are so familiar that the men who are, taking care of their bodies, healthy, fit, emotionally available, they're actually like men that some women don't even consider. They don't even come into their mode of attraction because these women are so attracted to these unhealthy scent patterns and these unhealthy subconscious patterns that are something that they've been programmed to be familiar with.
Now, going back to the pheromones can't be proven in humans. I know though that they have done like studies with like chemical signatures and evidence around that, especially with infants and moms. But
Mhm.
that doesn't translate over to the pheromones, or that's a little different.
So it would be similar. So this is why like
Okay.
skin to skin is important and relevant. This is why when women go through birth control changes or pregnancy changes, they can become completely repelled or extremely attracted to different people. So we know that the pheromones are changing. It's similar to how there's a gap in science where they still don't know the process in a woman's body that starts labor.
Oh,
So
yep.
this is
Oh, they
still
don't know anything about
developing,
women's bodies. They can't
right?
test for hormone levels. Or they'll say, I checked your hormone level and it's fine. And it's like, No, it's like insulin. It changes minute to minute, hour to hour. You didn't check it. You checked it for 1 second during this small period of time. And that doesn't tell you anything about what I'm experiencing.
Right. And that's
Drives
so
me
relevant
bonkers.
because when I even talk about cortisol, women will tell me, well, I don't have, like, I've had my cortisol checked and I don't have high cortisol. And I said, okay, but were you actively dating at the time that you had that checked? Or did you not expose yourself to your triggers? Because if you are very calm and centered, like for me, and a bit of my story goes back to like, I was in kind of my best self when I met my husband. I was super secure, super feminine. And then I started to like him and I became like a raging bitch, like totally
Really?
different person because my anxious attachment style hit. I needed commitment in order to be worthy, in order to, like myself and all these different things.
Mhm.
My amygdala fired off, my cortisol went through the roof, and my husband went, whoa, who is this? I don't even know like if this is gonna work out. And that was a shift in my pheromones, but it's also a massive shift in the way that our cortisol is being produced and that it's being triggered in that moment. And then if I were to have my cortisol tested in exposure to my triggers, it would come out totally different than,
Of course.
doing the daily things of going to work and going to the gym and all those things that you do every day and having it checked then, right? We need that exposure.
It's like checking your insulin levels after you just ate a big breakfast versus after you just woke up,
Yes, exactly.
which just makes so much sense to me. And yet the medical community isn't, I guess, if they're not, the research isn't there, the conversations aren't there. I don't know what it is, but I found out recently that they didn't even start testing how medicine interacts on a woman's system until the 1990s.
Yeah.
So the majority of medicine out there was never tested on a sample that included women. But you're telling me what the side effects are, even though you have never tested it on a woman, and legally it wasn't required to be.
Yeah. So we actually can look at most practices that involve women in medicine as only tested on men.
Hmm.
We could speculate why this is, but I just think it is misogyny at play in the medical industry. The fact that there are different rates of death among women during labor and things like that based on the country. It's not just to do with the healthcare system, but this also ranges among skin color. And so
Oh,
there's lots
absolutely.
going, right? There's lots going on where we can look at science and look at the way social constructs have negatively impacted discovery. And I'm not sure that pheromones should be included in that because they are just a method of attraction and mate
Mhm.
selection. However, the way that I look at pheromones is if we can manipulate them to be at their best when you are, attracting someone, or even once you're coupled and inside your marriage, your relationship is going to thrive because of the way that that naturally activates the kind of things that we want from men, which is like that providership, all wanting to please you, wanting to like not just provide for you, but pursue you on a regular basis. When our pheromones are activated, healthy men can only, like, they can't really help themselves when it comes to who they embody.
Now, how does this play into GLBTQI relationships?
So pheromones are equally as relevant among your friend groups. So you
Oh.
will like feed off of pheromone production. Essentially, it just tells our subconscious, is someone safe? Is someone trustworthy? Are we attracted to them? And so, as I'm a bisexual woman and I 100% care about how a woman smells, right? Like that
Mhm.
is very relevant to me. And if a woman smells a certain way, I can be like super infatuated with her versus if she smells a different way, it's like it just doesn't happen for me. It's the same concept.
Okay, I was just curious.
Oh,
When
yeah.
did you get started in this? And is this what you started out doing originally? Was there a pivot?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I actually started looking into neuroscience really deliberately when I was attracting all the wrong men. A very like cliche story, but when I was 17, I got in a really bad car accident that created a lot of PTSD for me. And
Oh, I'm
then
so sorry.
around like 19 or 20, I experienced sexual assault from a man. And so this really like made my PTSD symptoms go through the roof.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so at this point, I wanted to understand, why is my body reacting in a way that my brain can't comprehend? Why am I having panic attacks? Why am I, experiencing bulimia and all these different things that doesn't make sense to me? And so I went down the path and I found the book, The Body Keeps Score.
Oh, I love that book.
That's
It's
a good book.
dense,
Yes.
but it is so important and it really should be mandatory reading. Truly.
Yes. Yes. And so when I got into this book and really learned the way that our brain systems can function to then cause us temporary or permanent health damage, like
Mhm.
physically. So, like
Oh, yeah.
depression can cause, chronic neck pain, but that can also lead to other things,
Mhm.
heart disease, stuff like that.
Absolutely.
I started to look, at like why I was feeling the ways that I was, and then how that could then translate to like how other people perceive me and who I attract. And so this is where I understood that cortisol increases or decreases pheromone production, and the way that manipulating our hormones so that serotonin, oxytocin, and dopamine can actually increase pheromone production. And the reason we choose certain people is all based on this subconscious chemical compatibility that we can read. And that chemical compatibility, it's giving us those signals on that subconscious level of who is in alignment with us and who isn't. And so that's kind of where I went down the path. And when I started practicing with clients, I ended up, approaching three of my friends that I knew were going through a lot in terms of trauma recovery.
Mhm.
And so I used my trauma recovery modality on them. And the consistent outcome was long term, healthy, happy relationships that they would attract while working together on their trauma. And so then I was like, okay, something deeper is happening here in this work of manipulating the way that the brain functions that's actually attracting them aligned partners. And then I was like, I have to go with this. This is the sign. This is what I meant to do. And that's kind of where I got into my career.
I I'm a mental health therapist and I do a type of therapy called EMDR. And it's all
Mhm.
based on what neuroscience says that the brain and the nervous system and going into that fight, flight, freeze, and how things get coded and how they don't get processed during REM sleep. And so I love anything that always includes every piece of a human because you can't just heal your head up. It doesn't work that way. We're all interconnected. If you get an infection, you treat it really quick because you don't want it to go through the blood system, right? Because we're
Mhm.
all interconnected. And that is so important. And when I work with individuals with PTSD or complex PTSD, I always describe it as a bug light, that the trauma turned on this bug light. And that's why you're attracting all these nasty pets. And that's why
Mm,
you're getting all these bugs who keep trying to take advantage of you in the situation. And then as the trauma starts to heal, the bug light starts to dim, and you want to attract as many, as I would say, assholes.
mhm,
I didn't put together the idea of that bug light and that chemical compatibility, that piece that you're talking about. And so for me, what you're describing is very much an aha moment because I
mhm.
very much have recognized over 17 plus years how certain people's like bug light is on, but I didn't like think about it within that pheromone chemical realm. And so that makes perfect sense to my brain.
Yeah, yeah. So pheromones make perfect sense. And I love seeing the impact once I implement my method with clients and the different men they attract, but then also if they're already coupled, like the way that their man is either revealed as a very healthy man who's absolutely obsessed with them, or a man who only thrived on their chaos. And so it also gives you that crystal clear vision of like who is who, very much what you're explaining the bug light does, right? It's going to reveal people who conflict with your growth and your progress, or people who just absolutely love it for you and want to be a part of it and it matches them perfectly. And so it's really interesting looking at pheromones, but using it not as just a way to attract like a mate, but also a way to understand that the boundaries that you have around yourself and how you feel and the way that you construct your life in order to
Mhm.
amplify that good feeling is
Mhm.
not only going to reflect like who you attract, but also who you're attracted to, which is a massive shift for a lot of women, is that they no longer thrive on that type that we can call assholes.
Yeah, and I hear that all the time when people start to heal. I even will always make sure I broach the conversation that as you heal, if you're in a couple or you have super, super close friends or family members, they're going to not know how to always react to you because you're reacting differently. And
Yeah.
so it would be helpful to have them do some therapy or help them to learn about trauma or help them to increase their emotional intelligence so you guys are growing together. And
Mhm.
so again, that makes sense with the chemicals because the person's chemicals, the cortisol are decreasing, but the other person's chemicals aren't changing.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm. So
Yeah.
do you like try and help if you have a couple, both of them kind of working on that together, or is it more just one individual person you work with?
So men are, I believe, and I know this might be controversial, but far more responsive to women than women are to men. So there's this like, kind of like backwards thinking, in my opinion,
Okay.
um, that the masculine influences the feminine, but I really think the feminine influences the masculine in healthy relationships. So
Explain.
yeah. So when we are looking at, uh, when I get a new client and let's say she's coupled and she essentially says, the level of commitment isn't there in my relationship that I want. Like he's not planning enough, he's not initiating enough. I really just want this man to be freaking obsessed with me and I don't know how to get there. If he
I
is
have heard that before.
right, if he is a healthy man,
Mhm.
okay, because it's the whole if he wanted to, he would within reason, but we're not
Right.
going to be able to reveal that unless you're your best self.
Mm.
No man, even the most secure, amazing one, wants to commit to a woman who's extremely anxious and controlling, right? So it's like, I actually believe that when you are in your best self, so let's take me, for example. I was very anxiously attached to my husband. And when I was able to shift my pheromone production, get into a secure attachment style, be in that more detached energy,
Mhm.
he felt that gap. He also noticed my pheromones change, which puts me on the mate selection scale as much higher value, which means that now he understands there's something I can lose to other men here. She's a hot commodity on the market, and men for the rest of my life will be trying to get her. Now, this is actually what men are programmed to desire, is the female that more men want. It's
Right.
a status symbol, right? It's like literally ingrained in their DNA,
It's
right?
it's I mean, they show it within the animal kingdom all the time. Makes perfect sense.
Absolutely. So it's equally as relevant for healthy men. There are groups of men who do not thrive in those kinds of relationships based on their own, what they're experiencing, like extreme jealousy and problems like that. But for the healthy man, he would rather date a woman who's desired by other men than a woman who's not. And so when a man sees your pheromones increase, and not only like the domino effect of that he can see with his own eyes, but just the subconscious understanding that your pheromones are now a hot, making you a hot commodity, He
Mhm.
will now do whatever it takes to protect and preserve that's his. Okay. And so this is
Mhm.
tapping into male psychology 101 and the way that testosterone works. So
Yep.
now they have ambition to provide, to pursue, and to please in order to keep you to
Mhm.
themselves and to not lose you to another man. And this simultaneously makes them feel their best self when they're healthy. Because
Ah.
high testosterone is your energy hormone for men. And when they're producing a lot of energy to
Ah.
pursue you, they're producing a lot of testosterone. And this is
Mhm.
going to trigger reward centers in their brain, reinforcing the behavior because there's positive stimuli. So a billion different things are going to happen where he's just
Mhm.
locked in to not only how you feel and make him feel, but how he feels because of you.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Hmm.
the wrong men will freaking hate it and they will be not able to
Oh,
do it.
yeah.
It's that crystal clear vision that you get.
Yeah, that makes sense. How long have you been doing all of this?
So I went full time in my business in August of 2023. So I had had my first three clients previous to that, and they all ended up in these beautiful long term relationships. And I was like, oh, okay. So there's something I need to
Something's
follow
clicking
here.
here. Okay.
Yeah. And so I went forward with that and started completely niching down, working with pheromones. This is what I do. This is who I help. And I've been doing it ever since full time. And August 2023 was also the month that I got married. So I took the leap and
Oh,
yeah, took the leap and went full
you
in
took
on
a
my
bunch of
business.
leaps.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's been amazing since.
What did you do previously?
So I actually went to school for criminal justice and philosophy. So I have the double
Oh,
major in both of those. And philosophy is what really got me into, neuroscience and the way to live your life and all these
absolutely.
different things. But I ended up going into the trauma sector. So I specifically was a child and youth therapist, mainly working with children and then working with vulnerable
Mhm.
groups of children in different communities. And I really loved the work that I was doing, but
Mhm.
there were some problems with the impact that I could make and if that was a sustainable impact for me and for my ambition. And so when I was doing this, I was also, waitressing and working two jobs because if you work in entry level positions in the mental health industry, you
Oh,
don't
it
make a lot
doesn't
of
pay.
money.
You could work, I mean, if I right now, 17 plus years, all these credentials and whatnot, went to work for any of the community based mental health systems around here, whether it's a hospital or just their own practice,
Yeah.
I would make like half of what I make right now in private practice. And I would probably make more money if I worked at McDonald's.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that was not sustainable for me, but it
Mm-mm.
also, the impact that I could make actually on people's lives had so much red tape that I was like, this is making me depressed. I can't do this. And I'm not
You
built for
wanted
it.
a different way.
Yeah, I called the burnout when it was happening. Like, I'm not benefiting anyone, including myself, staying here. And so then I went back full time to waitressing up until my wedding. And I
So
was,
waitressing was less stressful than working in mental
yeah,
health.
waitressing and bartending. Yeah, that was like my bread and
Oh,
butter. I could make a lot of money and work
that's
half the
so
hours
true.
and just, leave my work at
At
work for the
work.
most
Yeah.
part. And so I did that while I became certified in facilitating the modality that I use. And then I started taking on clients to test out the work. And those were the ones
Mhm.
that ended up in the beautiful relationships. And so that was kind of the snowball effect.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Now, when did you start your podcast?
Last January of 2024.
Now, what made you decide to go into that arena?
So I really found that one of the best ways that I communicate like what I do is verbally. And
Mm,
so if people really liked my content online, but they wanted, more, they needed to trust more. I am very
mhm.
young and I work with women who are typically in their late 30s to early 50s. And so I'm turning 28 in January. And so that brings up a lot of skepticism for women who have been dating for years and years and years and being like, oh,
So you're
what can this 20-year-old teach me about
I
dating?
hate that ageism crap because
I
it
I'm
does not speak to your experience and your life and everything you've been through. It just like because of your age, it erases everything. It's such BS.
yeah. So the truth is behind that is it's just an objection that they're finding to have fear towards making the investment in themselves. And it's just like saying, oh, it's not the right time or it's too much money or anything. It's just fear coming up and uncertainty in your brain that then I need to
Just another
handle.
way to tell yourself no.
Exactly. So it's just
Mhm.
finding a no, right? When
Mhm.
you're looking for one. And so that podcast was my way of showcasing, I'm not just a young woman saying random things. I actually know what's going
What
on
you're
in the brain.
talking
I know
about.
how
Yeah.
to influence it. I understand healthy men really well. One of the things that I talk about a lot is the environment of men that I grew up in, which is really different than my clients. So a lot of the times, the reason why women are in the situations they are in dating and relationships is because of the way that they were raised and what was familiar to them. I got
Mhm.
very lucky to be raised with a very healthy, emotionally intelligent provider dad. And my older sister started dating her husband just like in grade 8. So I've had him around since I was 11 years old. And he is just a very emotionally intelligent provider, beautiful man, like built their house while she was, had her first baby with him and like built it with his own hands, very similar to my dad. And so I got to see like what healthy men are coded like. I got to feel it. And the only thing that drew me off that course in my dating experience was my PTSD, right? So then
Mhm.
I was able to be like, okay, I knew what I wanted. And then I got
Right.
derailed. What happened in my brain and how can I help people fix this?
Because
And
you
so,
had that frame of reference.
yes, so I can see a toxic man from a mile away. And that seems to be a skill set that is really, really necessary for women. And so, yeah, that's a big part of it as well.
That's really, really cool. Are you enjoying the podcast world? I love and hate it.
Okay. So last year I was consistent, put a episode out every single week.
Mhm.
This year, if there's one thing to be sacrificed, it's been my podcast. So I've gone through spurts of consistency and then inconsistency. Um, I'll hear someone say, "Oh, I miss your podcast," and so I'll put out a few episodes. Um, but a lot of the time, like when I like this is my second podcast feature for today. So for me to then go and record my own episode is just
That's a
probably
lot.
not gonna
Yeah.
happen. So, and I'm also 20 weeks pregnant. And I
Oh,
think, yeah,
congratulations.
thank you. Thank you. And I think that actually took a big toll on my ability
Oh,
to have consistency in my podcast
of
this year.
course. You're if men had to carry babies, you would get 9 months paid time off, and then
Yeah.
you would get another year paid to recover.
Yeah.
There is because what it does to your body, the toll it takes on your body, and what we as women put ourselves through, it's ridiculous. It
Mhm.
should be illegal. We should legally be protected while we're
Mhm.
pregnant. If people are so we love babies and we want to protect them, you should protect the mother from day one.
Yes, 100% agree with you. And a lot of countries do. And so it's
I
very a
think
Western
that's
world.
where you get a nurse for a year, a housekeeper for a year. I think it's Japan, you get 2 years. The first year of pregnancy, and then the second year paid. Paid because they recognize how much it does to a body, to a woman, mentally, physically. And
Yeah.
if you want a healthy population,
Yes.
you have to invest from day one.
Yeah, and I think you're on the nose. I actually think for places like Japan, it means more to them the health of the baby and the way that that's dramatically affected by a woman getting the resources she needs. So if you
Mhm.
want that growth of a healthy population, you have to start with healthy mothers.
Yes, otherwise you are not going to have a healthy population. So don't tell me you care about taking care of people if you are not investing in them from day one.
Yes.
Oh, don't even get me started on that soapbox.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
hopefully women will start being able to have more control and say over things in the US so we can start pushing ideas and systems that actually benefit everyone.
I'm in Canada and we do have, free healthcare and one of the things that I found a huge privilege is the second I got pregnant, I was able to get a midwife and this is completely free. So she will be there during
Really?
my delivery. I see her every month for the first like 6 months and then it becomes like bi-weekly after that. So I see her
Wow.
regularly. I also see another midwife, so there's a team of them in case one of them isn't around, like on call during my labor. Then the other one that I'm familiar with will be there. And that woman is there, or man is there specifically just for you. Like you are their priority. If everyone is worrying about the baby, you are her priority. You're what matters to her. And so you get that on top of your nurses and doctors.
That's wonderful.
Yeah,
That has to have such a positive mental health impact on moms in Canada to know that there is a person there to
yeah,
make you a priority, to safeguard you and make sure you're okay. Because the
yeah.
moment that baby's born, all of a sudden you don't exist.
Yes. And, there is a shortage of them. So it's like I got very lucky that with the timing
Mhm.
as well, and me just being so like the second I found out I was pregnant, I got a midwife the next day. So I got
That's
lucky.
wonderful.
Yeah, but for some women, they're waiting their whole pregnancy and they don't end up getting one if there's like a boom of the year and stuff like that. So we still have work to do with making it more accessible.
But
But yeah,
you
midwife,
have it.
yes, and it's free. Like it doesn't set you back at all financially, which is
That's
yeah,
wonderful. Thank you
yeah.
for sharing all that. I had no idea you were pregnant or in Canada because I just
Yeah.
jump in on conversations with people because that's how I roll.
Yeah.
You must keep us updated about the journey and everything. I would love to hear more about it, especially, I mean, just that positive reinforcement your nervous system's getting right now and the baby's nervous system. I can't imagine all the good things that it's providing with just having that safety reinforced over and over again.
Yeah, yeah, like I don't have to rely on what the internet says when I have symptoms come up during my pregnancy. I can call my midwife at any time and
Oh,
tell her what's going on with me, and she will like give me a full conversation, whatever I need. Um,
oh,
and
that's
yeah,
just wonderful.
yeah, so you get a lot of support here in that regard. And then we do have paid maternity leave. Anyone can collect unemployment within the first year of their childbirth.
We do
Men
not
have,
here.
I think men have 6 months here for paternity as well. I would have to like check
Wow.
the numbers. And so, me being an
Women don't
entrepreneur,
have that. I had my daughter and I had to go to work a week and a half later, or I would have lost my job.
yeah, it's insane. It's
I
insane.
had no choice. I was the
Yeah.
healthcare carrier. So if I didn't go to work, I wouldn't have my job, and I also wouldn't have health care. So
Yeah.
a week and a half after having a baby, I had to go to work, and I had to do it was like 2 days. Every 3 days I had to do a day or something. Otherwise, I could get fired. And so my boss worked with me, but I still had to go in because there wasn't any wiggle room about me not getting fired.
Yeah, yeah, that's insane. And so for me being self-employed and my older sister being self-employed as well, we don't get support like financially at all,
Oh,
but at least
okay.
our partners do. So that
Oh, so does that add stress though to you being self-employed, that piece of it?
no, like only because I can work from home. And so I like my sister's a chiropractor, so her income literally stops if she's not going into work.
Physically here. Yeah,
But I can make money from home. I can serve clients, sign clients, all those different things. I'm in a very good position, luckily.
good,
Yeah. Yeah.
good. I hope women, especially women listening to this, will not only get all the wonderful knowledge and value that you've shared about pheromones and chemicals and trauma and how all that shows up within relationships, but also that motivation to work for yourself, to be your own boss, to have multiple streams of income, the importance and the safety that that provides for women
Mhm.
that I don't think we talk about enough.
Yeah, I agree with you. I love what I do. I will say that it takes a massive amount of dedication. Um,
Oh
but
yeah,
if you can do it, it is very rewarding. I
absolutely.
I went full time at 26 years old. I made six figures in my first year,
Oh
and
wow.
it's been consistently increasing growth since. So you can really like make it work and make a lot of money and support yourself and have that financial freedom in yourself. Um, Even though, it's not for the weak, it's still, if you can do it, it's worth it.
Mm, lovely. Before we wrap up, I always ask everyone, what is one thing that you would tell your younger self? Something you would say to motivate them, or some lesson you would have learned already, or some piece of advice you would have told your younger self if you could have.
Yeah, that's a very, very good question.
I've been told I ask good questions, but unfortunately, sometimes that puts people on the spot. So
That's
apologies.
okay. That's okay. Um, you know, I think the biggest lesson that I've had is really making sure that the people that you surround yourself with bring out the best in you. That
Oh,
has to be like one of the most important things as a young woman.
oh,
Um,
yeah, that would be a great thing for young women to really be aware of is who are you surrounding yourself with?
yeah, what kind of patterns does that typically influence in you? And this doesn't mean that like your problems are because of everybody else. No, they're
No, of
your
course.
problems and
Yeah.
they're your responsibility. But surrounding yourself with the absolute best group of people to inspire you to consistently grow and be healthy and take care of yourself.
Mm,
When you surround yourself with those people, you basically have to assimilate to that because of
mhm,
our natural sense of belonging being
mhm.
so detrimental to our survival that
Yeah,
you can
that
actually kind of like,
positive peer pressure.
yes, you can like manipulate your brain into being your best self just by surrounding yourself with people who are taking their lives, seriously, but also taking really good care of themselves.
I like that.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody wants to work with you or listen to your podcast, find you, how do they get a hold of you
Yeah.
and listen?
Yeah, so you can just search up my podcast, Goddess of Love. But you can also look me up on Facebook. That is where I am most present on social media, and pop into my DMs, grab my free course, anything that you want, it's all there.
Oh, wonderful. So Goddess of Love podcast. And then on Facebook, is it Goddess of Love or is it Leah Mitchell?
Just Leah Mitchell. Yeah.
Just Leah Mitchell. Okay. I just want to make sure everybody hears that. I know personally, being an individual with dyslexia, ADHD, that I would need like it to be said a couple times. So I could write
Yeah,
it if I was
no
listening to it.
problem. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much. This has been such an interesting conversation. I really appreciate your time, especially if you've already done a podcast today. It can be quite draining and you're
Yeah.
pregnant.
Yeah, but I love these conversations. I find them more energy boosting and inspiring than anything. So I appreciate you having me on today.
Oh, well, keep us updated. If you ever want to come back, please let me know. I'd love to have you back. And thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
And to my listeners, thank you for listening to Notes to My Nervous System. If this spoke to you or you know a friend who would benefit from this episode, please share it with them. Leave a review. Unless it's negative, I don't need to hear negativity. And always be kind to your own wiring.